with independent living resource when I was doing my practicum. So I was actually, Diane used to be my supervisor then. And so
Awesome.
that's how I knew Diane Stevenson. So she was so great. I loved her. So when I saw this, I said, well, why not? Though I'll be back from work by then. So I don't mind being part of this, part of what she's going to be doing. So it's going to be a great opportunity. So I decided, well, why not? I'll give it a try. So I work with all services, all child and family services. I'm a social worker. And so I work with a program called Patch. It's a community-based program. And we work with a lot of low-income families. And so the program is actually, we try to reduce poverty with the families that we try to teach a lot of our families how to manage their incomes and reduce poverty. It's a poverty reduction program actually that offers a lot of multi-level services. So we work collaboratively with a lot of other agencies to support these families. And so we actually offer an individualized services. So each family are actually not the same. So we offer is an evidence-based and preventative approach that we do we do offer. And
Okay, great.
so it's actually a great program. So
Awesome.
I do go into the community a lot of times
Okay.
to teach what do I teach? I teach a lot of them with a lot of social inclusion, how to be, like when you were saying something about, social distancing, I was actually laughing because we do encourage social inclusion. So
Yes, good.
with people going through mental health, a lot of our population go through a lot of mental, issues. And so in this kind of situation going on right now,
Yeah.
we've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of challenges with a lot of them because they are separated from what they are used to. And
Okay.
so we're trying to manage that situation.
Okay, that's great. Thanks so much, Wunmi. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And Diane is amazing. So let's hear from someone else who'd like to share next.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, hi.
This is Anna.
Hi, Anna.
I got invited to attend this meeting presentation with all of you wonderful people by Luanne, our dear Luanne. So we work together at the Association for Rehabilitation of Brain Injured.
Okay.
So we work with a very vulnerable population, brain injury individuals. I'm an occupational therapist as a background. And really during those crazy times that we are facing right now, one thing that I learned is really keep thinking outside of the box. There's always something we can do. And that what makes me very thankful and grateful when I was able to provide some support for the clients in a different ways than we used to. But when I was able to, that give me a lot of peace. So yeah, that was something that I faced during this time. So a lot of new learning. So just keep your mind open.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Anna. It's so nice to see you here. It's great. Okay, and who's next? Colleen? Oh, just unmute yourself, Colleen.
Didn't realize I was muted. Sorry, does Judy want to go first?
No.
I saw your face pop up there. Hi.
Oh, I'm just clicking buttons.
I am a friend of Luanne's, and I'm grateful that she invited me to participate in this tonight. I've had 22 years of experience working with nonprofit organizations, particularly in the area of special events and marketing and communications. And so, of course, this whole COVID thing has changed my life drastically, because it was immediately, the rug was pulled out under every one of the events and activities that I was doing. And I'm quite grateful that they've provided me the opportunity to do some alternative work in the meantime while we're waiting to see what's happening. But it's a time of change, and I think going into this new period, we're going to need to look at things quite differently. And so I was interested in what this presentation was going to be tonight, you know, about you know, how to make some changes and move forward in maybe a little different manner.
That's great, Colleen. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Okay, so Judy, how about you?
Well, I've got a background with working with people who are disabled, and I've been in the field for about 45 years, and I just retired. And so typically I would be in the middle of the storm that is releasing all the relief checks and supporting people. And so very, very cognizant of what people are going through at each end. The government employees are just going through hell. There's so many different directions and so much of a workload going on, and private citizens and people are just so scared, and everything is changing so fast. And I know for me, the thing that has struck me about this is senior care and the facilities, and remembering back to when I first started in rehab, I was working in an institution, and we all thought then that the best thing we could ever do was find somebody a home where they would have their own front door and their own keys and do their own groceries and all those kinds of things. And then now reflecting how sad I am that, you know, we work so hard to get people their own places, their own homes. And as a society now, we find it very common that seniors are put into, again, institutions, and really learning right now the hard way that maybe that's not the way we should be going, because we certainly ended up endangering people. And that just breaks my heart.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Judy. And we are glad that you're here today. So we've got time for one or two more. We'd love to hear from one or two more of you. Who wants to jump in?
Hi, I'm Jeriel. I'm from Calgary.
Hi, Jeriel.
I think I met you a couple months ago in like one of the meetings. So I am a college recruiter. So I help students find out, international and local. I help students find the right schools and the right courses for them. Obviously, with the COVID-19, there's a lot of setback with like how we're helping students out internationally and locally. So a lot of them are pretty much stuck wherever they are. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to guide students who aren't even like in our organization to kind of like see if they can get any help from the government, which they've been graciously giving the students like grants or giving them the opportunity to work extra or whatnot. But yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jeriel, and thanks for the good work you're doing. I think especially international students are one of the groups who are left behind quite a bit right now. So thank you for that. Okay, we got time for one more.
Hello.
Jenny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Hi, everybody, and good evening. I come from Edmonton. Actually, I am a student of Ed, and I attend his coaching class in March. That is where I started my coaching business. During this COVID-19, I found that actually people needs for the coaching and for the health, specifically for the mental health, is huge. And in the Mandarin Chinese community, I actually volunteered to help almost 30 people and to help them to answer the questions. And because some parents, they stay home and they have the kids at home at the same time, they work at the same time, how to handle all these type of things. And also I work with another nonprofit organizations globally to form the group. And we have like over 300 people right now, and to help local Chinese parents and local international students and to respond to the COVID-19. So I just want to say I really appreciate did this type of sense, and then we have this group support each other. And even though for me, I'm still learning, so I'm glad to be here and learn from everybody tonight. Hi.
Thanks so much, Jenny. Really, really appreciate that. And so, you know, in just a moment, we're going to get to our first speaker. Before we do that, you know, this is a surprise to her, but I'll get Cynthia to pop on and just tell us, Cynthia, a little bit about the sort of, we call it a little Calgary Hope initiative that we put together to support some folks. And I know some of the folks on the meeting tonight actually contributed. So Cynthia was actually down there today packing up these Hope kits. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Cynthia, please?
For sure. Thank you, Abe, for the lovely surprise. And basically on, I think it was Friday or Saturday, I was nicely invited into a group chat, and I was like, what's this group chat about? There's so many going on around here, and especially lately with COVID. And I realized that Abe was somebody had reached out to him from Banff and from an organization called Form. And what they do is they really actually work with temporary foreign workers, and mainly in Banff. And so long story short, we found out that a lot of these temporary workers, they don't qualify for financial support. Some of the reasons is because they aren't considered Canadian citizens, or they aren't considered permanent residents of Canada as of yet. So many families, it's like Banff is totally shut down. I was reading statistics, and usually around this time of year, there's already been about 9,000 cars that have gone through. And now there's only been 900 that have gone through Banff. And many places are closed. So people are out of jobs, and they don't have money to get food because they aren't getting the financial support. So families can range anywhere from like just a few people to a whole group, right? From young to old. So we decided to, a group of us friends really, and to work with the Calgary Hope or charity foundation or organization, is that just collect funds, right? Collect funds. And within 3 days, we raised over $3,500. And today we packed at the Manila convenience store in Bonaventure here. We basically packed 30 Hope kits of food for the families in Banff. We also packed 80 Hope kits for High River. Thank you, Luanne. Oh my gosh. And we have extra funds. And so we're looking at where we can put that. I'm not going to make promises on here yet. We are looking to put this towards the Calgary Food Bank. We're just getting confirmation from our group on that. So thank you so much for everybody who's been instrumental in this, right? Whether it's through sharing, whether it's through time or finances. And I mean, who knows, any initiative out there, it's not about not being a bystander, right? It's about being leaders like you to step up and say, hey, I noticed a need. I think it means it's for me to do something. So thanks so much.
I love it. Thanks so much, Cynthia. It's great, you know, when we can collaborate, we can help each other, we can support, and so that's kind of what we did. And you know, one of the things that I said, you know, is that your mental health matters. How many agree with that? Your mental health matters, right? One of the best ways to contribute to your mental health is drugs and alcohol. Just joking. Don't do that, okay? Just seeing if you're awake. One of the best ways you can contribute to your mental health is by giving back, right? It's just something happens in the soul when you give to others. And I know right now is a tough time financially. I get it. So you might not be able to contribute with money. That's fine. but there's lots of ways to give back, and I encourage you to find a way to give back, and know that as you do that, you're not only helping someone else, but you're actually helping yourself. And so, you know, it really actually now takes me to where we want to go, and that's to introduce our first speaker. And you know, Luanne looks even better in person than that lovely image on the screen. But let me just tell you a little bit about Luanne. And you know, Luanne is someone that I first had the privilege of meeting when I was the executive director at Infram Nicole. And what was always interesting to me at the time, Luanne was the executive director of another large nonprofit in Calgary that works primarily with seniors in housing. And she would often come to our fundraising events. And you got to understand one thing about nonprofit executives. They're very territorial, right? And they don't often go to each other's events and help them raise money. And I kept seeing Luanne come to these events, and it really impressed me, because I thought, wow, here's a person who's interested in more than just her organization, but she has a heart for the community. And then, you know, I left Infram Nicole, and then Luanne went through some very difficult times in her own life, and I was sort of privileged to be a small part of listening to her as she was going through this journey. And she was coming to a lot of our meetings. We have a lot of these meetings that go on, and we ended up being able to connect a little bit. And I was just so impressed at, even though she had experienced, I think, a lot of hardship and perhaps even unjust treatment, she kept her heart pure, you know, and she just wanted to find a way to get back on her feet so she could keep giving back, right? And I'll tell you, I've been, in my experience, around a lot of people who've been through hard times, and you too, you've been around them. And it's so easy to, you know, play the blame game, start to get bitter, start to hold on to stuff. And I didn't see any of that in Luanne. And now Luanne recently, actually just before COVID, became the executive director at, we call it Arby. But, you know, it's not like Arby's, like, oh, wow, you're the executive director of all of these sandwich shops. Our Arby is the Association for the Rehabilitation of the Brain Injured. And, you know, they do such great work in our community here in Calgary. They have such a great reputation. And I think they just became even better when they brought Luanne on her team. And she's also a certified aging consultant. And I think that's really important, especially when you hear in Canada that over 70% of the COVID deaths are happening in long-term care facilities. And I don't know about you, but as a Canadian, this is a national shame. You know, we should be rioting in the streets, demanding that our government fixes this, because we need to care for the elderly. How many of you agree with me, right? I think society is judged based on how it cares for its most vulnerable. And who's more vulnerable than a lot of these folks in their 80s and often even older. And they've lived, they've served, they've worked, they've paid their taxes. And for sure, we should be looking after them. And so it does my heart good to know that Luanne is an expert in those kinds of issues and is going to be, I know, advocating and leaning in. And so I'm gonna give her a hand, and I'm just going to turn it over to her. And I can't wait to hear her share today.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Oh my goodness, it's so exciting to be here with you all. I think that this is such an important night because we're coming together as a community, and what is better than a whole bunch of really healthy, great people coming together to see what we can do to better the world. So thanks, Abe. I really appreciate this opportunity. And it's kind of funny because I couldn't sit and talk. So I'm actually standing, and I feel kind of funny because I'm standing, but I'm standing because that's just the way things will be. I would have stood in front of you all. So today's theme is finding another gear. And I swear this is my lifelong mantra. I have always found my way through life's events, events that usually left me needing to recover and rebuild. To be said, finding another gear, I can honestly say that I've never done actions to hurt another person, but I can't say the same for me. How is it that I am so fast to criticize me? Why am I so hard on myself and so kind and loving to others? You know, I actually say the worst things to myself, and I work very hard to try to change that. So let me tell you a little bit about me. As a young person, I searched for love in all of the wrong places. I'm the mother of 2 sons, both born before I was 18. One was surrendered for adoption, and one was by my side with his beautiful wife every day. I lived through severe domestic violence and left that marriage to find my way. I struggled, but I persevered. I made poor choices, and then I made the correction to that. A moment about surrendering a child at the young age of 15 and how this has actually played out in my life in many ways. I always knew it was the right thing to do for my son. 46 years ago, the laws were very, very different than they are today. I was sent to a home for unwed girls, and it was actually really traumatic. There was 12 of us young girls, all in different stages of pregnancy and different stages of life, and we were subjected to abuse and ridicule by those who were in positions of power. So this was the first time in my life I had to find another gear. When I gave birth to my son, I said to hell with their rules. And if they didn't bring me my baby, I would not sign the papers. So that was the first time that I rocked the rules. It played out forever in my life. Check with my mom, she'll tell you. And I had a wonderful, fantastic 5 days of bathing and cuddling and loving my son. And I actually have a picture against the rules, so that forever that's in a special place. And you know, in spite of years of effort, I have not found my son and continue to pray that the decision I made 46 years ago was one where I gave him every opportunity at a great life. I'm proud. I'm very proud of the decision I made for him, and I continue to feel empty in the part of my heart that is just reserved for him. Oh, and then I have my son and daughter-in-law. They live here in Calgary, and they are my light. They love me unconditionally and openly. My son and I did not always have it easy, but we always had love for each other. We grew up together because I was so young, and we had some good times and some hard lessons along the way. My mom, when she was frustrated with me as a teenager, once said that she hoped I had a child just like me. And you know, she got her wish. I have a son who has his own mind, his own opinions, who is kind and loving, who is thoughtful and determined. I am just so proud of the man he's grown into. And my daughter-in-law is my choice for my son and I. She's beautiful inside and out. She loves us and looks after us. She brings balance to an unbalanced world. I'm grateful for their love and support. I apparently love to challenge authorities. I left home when I was 13, and as I mentioned, I had both of my children really young in life. I quit jobs that were not meant for me without having another job to go to. And I challenged the exams versus taking years of study to become the registered social worker. I'm not one to take a typical road. I've had a fantastic career. I'm so blessed. I've worked with children, teens, adults, older adults that are ill, cognitively challenged, mentally ill, in crisis, and all kinds of combinations thereof. I can assure you that if you want to forget about your own story, then put yourself out there. Put yourself in the shoes of someone else. You can help them change their story. It's incredible how my personal story becomes very small when listening to someone with huge problems. It humbles me. I have always believed that my story is my responsibility. Finding another gear resonates with me, as while I have made many mistakes and missteps in my life, I've always had the strength and drive to find my balance in life. And it's not easy. It's a personal tribute to take a difficult situation and be true to your actions that contributed to or caused that situation. Turn the mirror onto you and own it. I've said this several times. I said, step into it and then step on it. We all make mistakes. It doesn't have to define you. Mistakes can be the stepping stones to learning, loving, and discovering your own inner strength. It is courageous to not react with anger and blame, but to sit with your situation and allow yourself the opportunity to look backward, to see where you contributed to this situation and then what you must do next. When I replace what is this, why is this happening to me, to what is this trying to teach me, it makes everything shift in my head. And so my philosophy was tested last year. I was unceremoniously laid off from a job that I excelled at, loved, and was part of a team that took the organization to international acclaim. I had never been laid off nor fired in my life, and this event played out very, very hard for me. I was devastated. I went into crisis response. I am a single person, so I wondered, where will I ever find work again? Am I so bad that when I'm at the top of my game, that this is when I can be removed for no reason? Do I need to sell my home? I'm so embarrassed. What will people say about me? And how will I go on? It was a very low time in my life. I needed to allow myself to just feel it. I needed to cry. I needed to curl up in a ball, and I needed to grieve. So I did. It's very uncharacteristic of me. I did not pretend that I was okay, because I wasn't. At the time I was laid off, I had made the decision I would hold myself to a high standard in this very difficult time. I would not use social media to vent my hurt and my anger. I would not respond to anyone who tried to engage me in a war of blame. I did not talk poorly about those who had made the decision. I would not bring a scar to the organization that I had worked so hard to be part of the team to build. I was determined to rise above the emotion and show me who I was, no matter what I was living through. And I knew I had a lot of support. I had my son and daughter-in-law, my brother, many wonderful friends, and I called in my tribe. I needed their comfort, their support, and actually an occasional kick in the pants. And thanks for those that did that, because it was important. I called them. I didn't wait for them to call me. I just needed to put myself out there. We went for coffee, we went for a drink. I was really honest. I cried, I laughed, and I allowed their strength to hold me up until I found my own. And by the way, I cleaned and organized my home. There was nothing left untouched. There was some good therapy going on there. Through this experience, I accepted the lessons, and here they are. I had lost my identity of my own life, and my life had become my job. I was very physically tired and emotionally drained. Doing the job of many was wearing me out. I was lonely in a world of busy. I had work relationships, but I had minimized personal relationships. I was unhealthy. Working the hours of 2 full-time positions does not allow me time to rest, prepare healthy meals, go for a walk, do anything. I was confusing friends with work associates. And then I culled my social media. I had way too much noise going on in my life. I was too busy, too much in demand, and too much running on empty. So I'm really proud of myself. I allowed myself to be vulnerable and to let people in that my previously guarded sanctum, way outside my comfort zone. I reached out to those who I knew would love and support me. I took some risks. I found another gear. I shined up my resume. I slept a lot, and I found some balance. I was truly in relationship with my tribe, and I loved it. I started a consulting company where I was able to do what I loved, help people find solutions to their situations. I became the consultant on aging. I help families and older adults find options as they transition to the next phase of their lives. Typically, they're looking for more in-home supports. I love being able to help them. To start 2020, the year of perfect vision, by the way, I secured a new position in an organization that I believe in. I work with a dynamic team that are talented, thoughtful, and kind in their orientation to teach me. I needed to learn the culture and the needs of the people that we support, and they were generous with their time and their information. And I continued to find my balance, working very hard in my role within the balance of work and life balance. Sorry, the boundary of work and life balance. I have healthier relationships with everyone, including putting some limits on people and spending increasing time with others. I feel that when I found my balance, the universe surrounded me with love and opportunity. I highly recommend that you put balance into your life. Take back your power to control your life. Take time to heal your life again and allow you to find peace and rediscover that we are all just humans. So, to summarize, it is my belief that finding another gear is your responsibility. You control you. You can love you. You must reach out when you need something or someone. Don't be afraid. You can do it. Finding another gear can reinvent you. Finding another gear will make you juicy all over again. When I found my balance, I found me, my strength, the love of family and friends, and there's opportunities, and who knows what's next. I'm ready to continue to find another gear. Life goes on, and so do I. Thank you, Abe, for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Wow, that was awesome. Absolutely. Kudos to you. Lots of people clapping here. You know, just really, really, really love what you shared there today. And,
Thank you.
that's right. Was that Jer? Jer giving a shout?
Yep.
So you know what would be great is I'd love to see if anyone has a one or two questions for you here. Just you know, because you know Sean Lindsay, he's watching on Facebook. He says, "Great job, Mom." Of course, right? It's great. So,
Thank you, son.
so what do you any questions for Luanne? I mean, just you know, well, she's kind of on the stage here still, just from her journey about finding another gear.
I'm not so sure it's a question as much as an accolade. I would love to know how, in heaven's name, that Luanne does manage to keep her positive outlook on life with everything that she has to go through.
You know, Colleen, and you're part of that. I just honestly made an absolute conscious effort to surround myself with people who were going to feed my soul. And I honestly discarded other people out of my life. If you weren't part of my tribe, I went from this many people to this many people. And I took the noise out of my world, and it worked. And I reached out and didn't wait for people to find me.
A great answer.
I think in some way it's a little bit part of our aging process as well, because I think we learn to weed out and value fewer people, but people that bring more to our lives, I think.
That's great. So we got Sherry Austin here saying Luanne is a beloved and esteemed member of our Rotary Club of Calgary at Stampede Park. Wow.
Love you, Sherry.
You know, the Rotary Club does so much good. Hey, so thank you for that. Thanks for your work there. And thanks for your feedback, Sherry. Any others folks love to give a question? Karen, and then we'll go to
Luanne.
Sandy right after that.
Thank you. Luanne, I just wanted to say how positive going through, I know what you went through, that you never took your past employer through anything. And I just need you to know that because you had taken that community to such a high level, and you talked about it in your talk, that thank you for not taking them through what they took you through. And I think that was very brave of you and very, very strong. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for being on my tribe.
That's great. All right, Sandy, how about you?
I just have a quick question. Leanne, you brought up about losing your identity, because of being fired. And I kind of went through kind of the same experience in that sense that, you start thinking, well, what did I do? I'd never been fired like you and that kind of stuff. And then I've had some other, terrible knocks and stuff that's knocked me down that really shook up my whole, I guess, self-confidence kind of thing. So how did you rebuild it? How did you, I know you said you took it step by step. So what did you start with?
I started with surrounding myself with people who were healthy, who were positive, who were doing it. And I just let their healthiness just run all over me. I absorbed it. I let it hold me up. I had so many conversations with my son, my daughter-in-law, my friends, my tribe, and I didn't hold back how I was feeling. I let myself be vulnerable, which for those of you that know me, just know how difficult that was for me. I do helping really well, not so much being helped.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, in this situation, I just knew that I was at a point that if I kept that behavior going, I wasn't going to get through this, and I was going to then have a breakdown. And I just decided that my mental health was worth me. And I just surrounded myself. I remember calling up Abe and I said, and he said, well, you want to talk about it? I said, I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get together, because I don't know. And we talked. And then, sometimes we didn't talk, most of the time we don't talk about that situation. We just talk about life, and we just talk about supporting each other. And then I just absolutely just let it absorb and was just let myself be vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think with me, I'm on that road where I've started to surround, and Abe actually is one of the ones in my world that, has helped me to believe in myself a little bit, and, unfortunately, like I said, one of them was losing my husband. So like I said, it's been a long road on that, but I feel like I'm starting to come out of the other side now, so which is good. And you're almost describing the road that I feel like I've been taking as well. I just haven't got over the hump like you have.
You're there. Just keep surrounding yourself with people who you love you, and go forth.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Luanne, I'd just like to ask, you were just barely kind of finding your feet again with the new position at RB and getting things going there. And then COVID kind of knocked our feet out from under. So I'm sure that your day-to-day operating isn't quite the same as it might normally be. But I just wondered, what was the one big takeaway from all of what you dealt with going into your new life and your new work environment that you changed or took with you in order to prevent, I guess, a similar kind of circumstance that you had?
Thank you. I've maintained my balance. I'm not working around the clock. I'm not taking work home with me unless there's a specific project, and then that's it. I continue to think about that every night in my head. How did I do today? Did I have lunch? Did I go pee? Did I talk to someone? Was I harsh? Am I tired? And I honestly go through that exercise to test myself so that I don't go back to old behaviors and I don't go back to hurting me. I honestly do that every night.
It's got to be kind of hard to have regained trust and not be kind of second guessing yourself all the time.
Yeah, the other thing, Colleen, was so difficult was during COVID, we had to lay most of our team off. And it broke my heart in so many different ways. And so I have a great team and a great board to work with, so I'm really lucky. But I made sure that there wasn't a time where we weren't kind to these folks, that we were making sure that they had support and that they knew that this was situational, not because of them or poor performance or anything. And at the end of the day, when we had made 20 phone calls and we had talked to 20 people, and Anna, who's on the call here with us tonight, and another colleague of ours, we just made sure we were okay. And then we went home to have some peace, because those are really difficult things to do. And so part of that was just saying, damn, that was a hard day, and not pretending that it wasn't. We did a really good job by making sure that how we treated people was how we would want to be treated ourselves.
Really good. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Abe.
Well, thanks so much, everybody. Let's just give Luanne a big hand if we can. And we really, really appreciate it, and I think that people don't, I mean, when you're in these roles, and actually it's not just in the nonprofit, I think it's in so many roles, you put a piece of yourself into it. I mean, and we've all had jobs, but then, you've had a calling, or you've had something that you just felt like, you're putting a piece of your heart into it. And I think it's even harder in those situations. And so, Luanne, thanks for that. And you know what? It's great, sort of inspiration to some of us on this call today to know that, if you do the right thing and you keep putting one foot in front of the other, that better days are ahead, right? And so that was awesome. Thank you so much. So on that note, it gives me just as much pleasure to introduce our next speaker, and you can see her on the screen. That is young, vibrant Ms. Diane Stevenson. And I really love Diane. Let me tell you a little bit about what I know about Diane, and I certainly don't know everything. But, she is a woman who has experienced a tremendous amount of adversity and difficulty in her life, and has had tremendous amount of opportunity to develop either resilience or quit, right? And sometimes I think that's the way we have to look at hardship, right? It's either you've got this great opportunity in front of you, either to become like really resilient, or to just curl up in a ball and quit. And Diane has had tremendous resilience. We first met, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago now. She did some coach training with me, and we stayed connected, and I got to know Diane, number one, that she is really passionate about youth and youth issues. And so she's been a facilitator with the Heroes program at the Impact Society for, how long, Diane?
10 years. I found the certificate today.
It's amazing, right? And this is a program, some of you may know Jack Toth and their whole story. And so Diane has been there for a long time, just supporting youth and teaching that. She's also an entrepreneur, right? And she's a mortgage specialist, but she's also a certified life coach and has a lot to give. So I'm just going to turn over to you, Diane, and can't wait to hear what you've got to say today.
Wow. Just let me know if my voice isn't very loud, because I practiced today with my husband, and he told me my voice wasn't clear, and I'm on these antibiotics and they make my mouth really dry. Okay, so after Luanne, I don't know what else I can say. I figure I can just tear up my talk and go, we can just go to bed now or something. Anyway, I just think it's really interesting, and I'm sure there's more people here, but with Abe and Luanne and I, we've all had negative experiences and executive positions with nonprofit organizations. So it's interesting that we all have that in common. And a lot of people don't know some of the stuff that happens in those organizations and how people get treated. And it can be very traumatic. That's not what tonight's about. And it's something very different. And Impact Society, I get to go into the classroom and hang out with grade 7 students, and they are amazing. It's a huge passion of mine. So it's a privilege. It really is a privilege to go in there. And I get to go to Terry Fox, which is a pretty cool school. So I had another thing written out, and then I had this thing that drilled into my mind on Tuesday night at 2 o'clock, or Wednesday morning at 2 o'clock, and it wouldn't go away. So I made a really quick switch here. And I know a lot of you are Christians, some aren't, but I believe that it was a God thing. And I might get a little emotional. I lost a sister-in-law today. Sorry.
Lost your sister-in-law.
Oh. So 2 years ago tonight, at this time, I was sitting in a hospital in Edmonton waiting for my daughter to get out of surgery, or out of recovery, after about an 8-hour surgery. She has scoliosis. The surgery was to correct this curve in her spine and to remove a rib hump. So for those of you that don't know, scoliosis is a sideways curve of the spine. So if you see somebody with it, they're not standing straight, they're kind of crooked, and hers was horrible. And the rib hub happens when the spine also twists, and so one side of the ribs will compact, the other side expands. And it was, she didn't like it, and it was interesting, well after that she said she didn't realize how much pain she was in until it was gone. That can say a lot of things about our lives, right? So the surgery involved the removal of a short rod that she got when she was 12, placement of a new rod that now extends from the middle of her shoulder blades to the base of her spine. And then they cut, the surgeon's words were very carefully cut, 12 ribs, 6 on each side, and repositioned to get rid of the rib hump. Major, major surgery. So my daughter had gone in around 7 o'clock that morning, and we were told that, we were told actually if we wanted the surgeon to see us, we had to be in the family waiting room by 2 o'clock. It was my mom and her dad and I. We found out around between 4 and 4:30 surgery had gone well, and it won't be too long before she's out of recovery. When you're under anesthetic for that long, it takes a long time to come out of it. So she didn't get to her room until 8:30 or 9 o'clock that night. We were all tired. We just wanted to see her, say hi, make sure she was okay, and then we left. She was 10 days in the hospital, and it was particularly stressful for mom, and mom stayed with me. So for the two of us, because her care was horrible. I hate to think of anybody having to go through that, but the medical errors and the stuff that happened, she could have died. It was that bad. It was really negligence. So I had all that stress going on. And then my mom and I went to Safeway, bought some groceries, and came back, and my car got keyed. And I was like, I'm done. And I don't usually swear, but it was like, get me the hell out of Edmonton. I'm over this place. So we got out, had a bit of a struggle trying to get her in her car, because you figure your back doesn't bend, she's in a lot of pain, and you're trying to get her in the back seat of my car. That took about an hour. And then we got lost another hour out of Edmonton, and then eventually hit Red Deer, which is where she lives. I spent the rest of the time, so 10 days in Edmonton, and then 3 weeks in Red Deer looking after her, which is a real privilege that I was trusted to do that. So whatever she needed. So what does this story have to do with the topic of finding another year? Nothing. There's some reminiscing. It's an anniversary and everything. So just like now, my life slowed down. My normal life was on hold, and I was dealing with that issue with the nonprofit. And as a mortgage associate, you can work anywhere. So I was doing mortgages. So as long as you've got a phone and internet, you're good. But mainly I was there to look after her. I cooked. I loved spending time with her. We spent a lot of time talking. We went for walks. It was cool to see her progress as she went for longer and longer walks. And she started to get impatient and wanted to do things. So you knew she was feeling better. So when I said I cooked, the meals in the hospital were not great. And she eats really healthy. So when we got home, we ate lots of salads, lots of really stuff. And so after 3 weeks at her house, she was ready for me to leave. She was feeling better. She wanted her kids to come home. They'd been staying with their dad, and before that, she couldn't hand them for very long. Start getting back into a routine. Today, life's not normal. And as an aside, I struggle with the term new normal, because to me, that implies that life is going to be like this forever, that there's no end to it. I just can't think like that, and I don't think very many of us can. But so we have rampant unemployment. People are getting sick and dying. We just want to check out, or maybe we already have. Our lives are on hold. What's going to happen tomorrow? How do we pay the rent or mortgage? What about food? How do we get that? There's a lot of people that are finding it really hard to function day to day. If you read the paper or watch the news, the sky is falling, my little Chicken Little reference. Great book if you've never read it. But we learn to cope. Years ago, I did a stress management program. And one of my biggest takeaways was the ability to determine what I could and couldn't control in my life, which is part of this tonight. But we have a great life. I mean, there's a lot of stuff still going on inside. There's lots of good things, or outside, lots of things happening. I love the stuff that Abe and Connie are doing with Wellness Innovative Innovate, and their weekly webinars, and the people that they're bringing in that are looking at ways of innovating and moving their businesses forward. It's you just know it's out there. We have access to great leadership with those two. But people are still going to work, looking for work, and there are jobs out there. There's always jobs. Babies are being born, people are laughing, visiting, having fun, adapting. I've done online happy hours with the people I work with, and we have done charades online. Funniest thing ever. But people are also getting to know their families better. When we're together and things are normal, we're running around. I look at my daughter, 3 kids, and they're all in different events, and they're all out every night of the week, and they're all doing stuff. I give her credit, but she spends a lot of time with her kids. But we don't always have time with that. But we get to know them. We can really talk to them. We can sit down for meals together and chat. My mom has always said that she got to know her kids better at the dinner table. We had a lot of freedom. It got a little crazy sometimes. But maybe finding another gear right now is to slow down or stop for a bit. Not to park our butts on the couch and binge watch Netflix. I've talked to a lot of people that have done that. But we're not going to do this permanently. We're going to take the time to do some reflection, to really breathe, to have some fun, and to de-stress. So how do I have a PowerPoint. I forgot. How do I bring this up? Can I?
Yeah, just
share screen.
Share screen, and then just select.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at that. Share. I almost forgot about it. I love this picture at the beginning. So now what do I do?
Just like you normally do, just select the slide, and
I can do that. How do I get full screen?
you see down here?
Down.
You know how to make your presentation full screen normally?
I thought I did.
Just go slideshow, hit play, baby.
There you go.
Slideshow. Okay. Okay, Jer, here we go. Here we go.
Play, baby. See where it
from
says
the beginning.
Play
from the beginning.
From the beginning. Thank you. You rock. That's why you're my hero. So I did this today because I talked a little about having fun, and when we're going through life and we have the craziness. So I took a little scene there from Home Alone. I did look at actually putting Macaulay Culkin on the screen, but they're talking about copyrights, and I don't want to mess with that. So wait, what? Sorry. What? I got lost here. But we have to be really honest with ourselves, and we need to take that time and reflect. And how are we really feeling? What are we struggling with? It's easy to deny that maybe we're struggling with what's happening in the world. I found myself buying and consuming a lot of junk food. The question I had to ask myself is why? I was doing pretty good on my diet before. What is going through my mind that I'm acting out of character? And I am a stress eater, but where was it coming from? I tried to pretend that the whole COVID thing wasn't affecting me, but I had to admit to myself that the whole situation is bothering me more than I thought it was. It's only logical. It's in all the papers, it's on all the news, and I do my best not to do a lot of that, but it happens. I can't go to the office and visit with my coworkers. I can't get together with my friends. So what did I do? I thought about the whole situation. I was trying to figure out what it was. And Luanne touched on it, it's a lack of control. We want autonomy in our world. I talked to a friend of mine today, that was exactly what her struggle was in the beginning, and she cried. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything that I want to do. I want to be free to go outside, visit my friends face to face, hug my grandkids. It drives me crazy. We're all a huggy bunch. I want to hug my daughter and my family and friends. And it's really hard to do physical distancing when you're a huggy person. And I'm sure there's a few of them that are on this thing tonight. I may not even want to hug you, but I want to be able to. So I saw something on Facebook. Oh, wrong slide. So it talked about how, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and I know Luanne said she's limiting her social media, but when you're looking out there, people are always talking about how you could take these courses and you can get a degree online and you can do self-improvement and you can do it. But what this thing said was, and we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is very interesting, but she said if the bottom, the safety and security and the physiological needs are not being met, you can't possibly do anything to really improve yourself. And I really have to disagree with that. I think, and I'll talk a little bit about control later on, but even though you seem to be in that place, you can still do things to maybe improve. Maybe it means digging up, and I did this, digging up old exercise videos and sitting down and actually doing them. The one I found is cardio hula, which will be crazy, and you're doing your video and you're laughing, but you laugh. I do. I laugh at myself because I know I look like a klutz. I have no coordination because I don't know what I'm doing, but I figure it out and I start to feel better. So even if you're in these bottom two, you can still do something and it's going to make you feel better because you're taking some action. One of the things that when I was not sleeping that came to my mind is when we get into this and you're stressing and you're worrying and, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? We got in this little term came to mind, a victim vortex. I can't control my life. I can't do anything. What am I going to do? And you go, boop, 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 and it comes down like a funnel and you start to feel worse and worse and worse. So there is CSI is really old and I watch replays. So there's this thing on there where they show and they're talking, and I'm assuming they're reasonably accurate, but they showed this circle of ants. And I think they called it a death march. And ants would circle like just start circling. And nobody will leave. And according to what they said on the show, they will keep marching until they die. They're not getting out. So they said, okay, let's help these guys. And they scattered the ants and off they went. But if we get into that victim vortex, again, my term, what can we do to get out of it? What action can we take to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something better. There's so many people I know that are doing exercises online. Do a half-hour exercise class. It's something. You'll feel better, not only mentally, but physically. You get some endorphins going and you just automatically feel better. And I have been at the bottom of the triangle. I've been unemployed a few times. Once I was a single parent, once I wasn't. The second time, or well, I was still a single parent, but my daughter had left. The second time, the action I wound up taking was I sold my condo in Red Deer and moved to Calgary to get a degree. And that was in 2000. So I was, immature. Well, they would call me a mature adult. I was well into my adulthood. It happens, and we have all of those chances. We just maybe have to look a little bit harder to find all of those opportunities for us. And no matter where we are, we can improve. So I talked a little bit about control. I got my slides on the wrong order here, sorry. What are the things we're going to do? I do not recommend right now, if you are doing your physical distancing and you're at home alone, that you decide to become a mixologist and become your own best guinea pig. Abe alluded to alcohol. It's a lot of fun, but not a lot alone, and you don't want to spend that much time drinking. But if we are stressing, and we're stressing about things over which we have no control, that becomes a problem. So this is the little box that I took away from this stress management program. So we have 4. The bottom right says what I don't know and what I can't control. That box should always be empty. You don't know anyways. The top box above that, what I don't know and what I can control. If you don't know it, you don't need to worry about controlling it. It's a non-issue. The bottom left, what I know and what I can't control, is where we probably have to put a lot of stuff from the top box, what I know and what I can control. We did this exercise and it was full. Everybody's was full. So the facilitator of the course said, okay, let's take a look item by item. So today, I can't go out and hug my grandkids. I can't control that. Doesn't make me happy. I can't control it. It needs to go into a different box if I've got it there. Things like visiting my parents. I can't control that. I can't stress about it. I have other ways of visiting with them, even though, again, I want to give everybody a hug. This was so empowering when we could put things in boxes, and we always talk about thinking out of the box. We need to think in the box here. And to know exactly what I know and what I can control. And by doing that, you may pick a couple, okay, this item is really easy. I can go and I can dig out an exercise video and I can do it. Do it. You'll feel better. And gradually work those things out of your box. If you're looking for a job, update your resume, get them out there. Hopefully you'll find something soon, because like I said, people are always looking. So the other thing that I thought about is a lot of us are now working from home. Maybe we weren't before. How have you adapted? Working from home is a challenge and it takes a lot of discipline. I know I have challenges because I'll be busy working in my little office here. And then it's like, oh, okay, I need to go and clean the bathrooms, or I need to go and do laundry, or we allow ourselves to get distracted, which is why I still can, and I love going to my office. But are you taking breaks? I work with lenders that they've been sitting from 7 o'clock in the morning until midnight working. Walk away. Sometimes that works so much better for you. And how are you handling it? Are you getting really stressed? Take a break. If you got kids at home, go play with them for 10, 15 minutes. Go for a walk, come back refreshed. Your mind will be much sharper. It's really easy to get into work and forget to surface, to come up for air. So if you set a timer, get up and stretch and move at least once an hour, come back after a couple of minutes and go back. It doesn't have to be a long time, but get some circulation in that thing you've been sitting on. It's probably numb by now. And plan your day as much as possible. You can't always, but if you have a plan, you tend to be more productive. And that's pretty standard stuff, but sometimes we forget. And find a routine. We tend to do it at work. Why don't we do it at home? We have to get back into that. One other thing that I want to talk about, in absolutely every course that I have ever taken with Abe Brown, he has talked about it, and that's self-care. And it's so critical. This is just a few things. But I read, again, I'm trying to avoid too much Facebook, but this was in the last year, and everybody was talking about self-care, and this person put on there that they felt it was just a self-indulgence, that it was totally selfish, and why are we doing it? You're taking time away from your family. How do you look after your family if you haven't looked after yourself? It's not an indulgence. It's critical to your well-being. If you're depleted, how can you be there for other person? And self-care doesn't mean you're going to take out on a weekend and go to a spa or hang out with your friends and leave your family behind. You need to find time for them, but you need to find time for you. It's taking a little time for yourself each day. And Wimmy introduced herself, and when I was her supervisor, when she was doing her practicum, she was quite ill, and she phoned and she said, I'm feeling really sick. I'm not going to come in, but I'll come in this afternoon. And social workers will tell you self-care is drilled into them. So that was what I reminded her of. If you're sick, A, we don't want it, but B, stay home and look after yourself. You'll get better faster and you'll feel better. And I've got all of these examples, and these are Abe's, but you notice there's some spaces at the bottom. Feel free to fill those in for whatever works best for you. Sleep, nutrition, and exercise is critical. Work it in. Journaling is good. Sometimes if you want to start and you're really struggling, and do what I call a brain dump and just write. Grab a bunch of paper and just start writing. Don't think about your writing, do it, and then go back and read I did this once before. It's very cathartic, and you actually learn a lot about yourself because you're not thinking. So I do have some takeaways for this. The main points: take some time to examine how you're feeling. Don't bury the negative. Luanne talked about that. Acknowledge it. Take a good look, figure out if there's anything you can do about it. And if you need to talk to a professional, please do. Make your to-do list and find a routine. Do some kind of self-improvement and get out of your rut and look after yourself, because self-care is critical. Here we go. I found these. These are cool. Tough times don't last, tough people do. We're going to get through this. The key word being through. We're not going to get stuck here, even though sometimes it feels like it. This is Zig Ziglar, and I actually signed up for some stuff with Zig Ziglar, and it is permission to share. You were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of grace and greatness. Always remember that. And here we go. It's your life coaching. It's me, and I lost some stuff. I hope it shows up somewhere. This new logo and icon, thanks to Jerkra. Love you. This was awesome. Oh, there it is. I have an extra slide. So if you want to reach out to me and we can work through some strategies with you, it's yourlifecoachingca@gmail.com. And my direct line at work is 403-910-0616. And I would love to hear from you. Please reach out and just let me know how you're doing. Done.
That's awesome. Let's give Diane a hand, everybody. So good. From the heart. Woo! That's awesome.
And I didn't cry. Today was a little rough.
Okay. So you've been crying a little bit lately,
A little bit. Well, no, you may have missed that at the beginning. My sister-in-law died today.
Okay. Yes,
So, yeah.
I did hear that, of course.
My brother's sister. So.
Yeah. And you know, there's been a lot of tears on top of that, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe just stop sharing your screen, Diane. You just go.
How do I do that?
A little button that says stop share.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
On top.
There you go. And, you know, thanks everybody for taking a couple of minutes out of your night. And I just think it was great to hear, you know, from Diane. And I'm just going to try to bring us in for a landing here tonight. I'm not going to talk for long, so don't worry. But playing on what both Luanne and Diane was talking about, you know, we have been doing a lot of work lately around, you know, kind of mental health right now. And, you know, I think that there's when we talk about mental health, you know, and a lot of people are talking about it today, you know, there's sort of the clinical, you know, diagnosable, you know, I have a mental health disorder. And then there's the more sort of garden variety where people have been traumatized and we've all been traumatized. And then they need some help and they need some support. And I was in a meeting about a week and a half ago with a couple of ladies, a Zoom meeting, and one of them talked about the idea of honoring the trauma. And you know what? If you're on this call today, if you're alive, how many of you are alive, right? You've been traumatized, and especially if you're in Alberta, because you know when you think about what Albertans have been through all the way back to 2013 and the flood, especially if you're an Albertan who's been in a leadership role or in a business capacity, there has been a significant number of challenges that have come to the surface. And I think that one of the things that I really want to encourage you to do is to find a way to honor the trauma. Now, when you hear honor the trauma, like, you know, you kind of think, well, what does that even mean? Well, you know, one of the terms I have a real challenge with, and I apologize because I've already told you I have a problem with the term social distancing. And so here I am sharing another term. You'd probably think I sit around all day and like the thought police analyzing everything. And I don't, but you know, though I was a registered therapeutic counselor for a number of years, I I don't have any clinical or research basis for not liking this term. I just don't like it, but I do have a rationale. How many of you heard the term PTSD? Who here has heard that term, PTSD? And of course, we know what it means. It means post-traumatic stress disorder. And I don't like the D in the PTSD. And here's why. If you've experienced trauma, you're not the problem. And yet what happens is you go to somebody who's expert and educated, and they tell you that now, because you experienced something, you've got this thing and it's this disorder, right? Like you're now labeled, oh, they're experiencing PTSD. And I think that labels never help people. I mean, labels, if anything, they limit, they take the life out. And so what I've been thinking a lot about is, rather than saying to someone, you're experiencing PTSD, I like to think about PTSR. And what does the R stand for? Well, that stands for a response. Now, every single trauma, every single hardship that you've experienced, the adversity of COVID, you have an opportunity to respond, right? Now, it could become, I guess, a disorder if you nurse it and you rehearse it and you let it go there. Any adversity, any pain, any hardship, any disappointment can become something that can truly wreck your life. Or what you can do is you can find a way to respond to that trauma so that you are able to be resilient. And I think that there's three sort of concepts here. I think the first is treasuring the trauma. Now, treasuring the trauma to me isn't like, oh, I'm so happy I had this trauma. That's not really smart. But you know what? If you break your arm, if you have a wound, if you have a gash, I mean, how many of you know you're going to treasure that wound? And all that means is you're going to be protective of it. You're going to be a little bit more guarded. You're going to honor it. I think the second thing about our trauma, after we treasure it, is the second thing is you've got to talk about it. You've got to find safe, supportive people in your life that you can reach out to. And, you know, you might have to look a little hard to find these people. I mean, these people aren't everywhere. I love what Luanne said, you know, that she had to, you know, she had to, here's kind of what you said, Luanne. I had to cull the herd in order to find the tribe, you know, and, you know, there's the herd out there, you know, we hear about herd immunity, and everybody moves as a herd. And yet sometimes you got to take people off the list so that who's left on the list can be the right people. Does that make sense? Right? You've got to ensure that you've got people that you can talk to about the trauma that you're facing within your life. And I think the third thing, and perhaps this is most important, is you've got to then tribe the trauma. And you know, tribe is both a noun in Abe's little brain and it's a verb. And what do I mean by tribing the trauma? What I mean is, you know, trauma is not meant to be processed in isolation. You know, that you do, like Luanne and Diane talked about, you've got to find some safe people within your life. And, you know, the only thing that I really want to share as we close here today, and some of you have seen this in the past, but I'll just share it again, you know, is that right now, COVID-19, the greatest health challenge of our lifetime, the greatest economic challenge in the last 90 years, right? That's a long time. You know, it's not a coincidence that the magic in your life happens outside of the comfort zone. So COVID-19 is not a curse, but it's the greatest opportunity that some of us have ever been given to find ourselves again. And to understand that outside of that comfort zone is where the magic happens. And, you know, here's another thing that you get it, I get it, we all get it. And that is this: in the midst of adversity, how many of you have discovered that opportunity absolutely abounds? But you've got to look for it. And that was another thing that Luanne said. And I appreciated what she said so much when she talked about the fact that she didn't wait for her tribe to come to her. Right. I mean, I've done that before. I've been in a hard place in my life, and where's my help and where's my support? And I'm sitting around feeling sorry for myself. But how many of you would agree that that is not a good solution? And so in the middle of the adversity, in the middle of the pain, I just encourage you to reach out. And so, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I would just love to I'm going to unmute everybody because, well, not everybody. What I mean is we're going to give you a chance to share any last thoughts or questions to either one of these exceptional ladies here today. And then we'll bring it to a close in the next 6 minutes. So you got something to share? Please do. Or a comment. Actually, we also didn't give a chance for any comments or questions for Diane. So I'd love to hear some about that as well. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
I see another Diane on there.
Yes, Diane A.
Hi, Diane. Oh, the camera's gone away.
Diane, it's Jeremy. I have a question for you.
Yes.
By the way, that was an awesome talk.
Thank you.
You crushed it. What is your favorite donut?
What is my favorite donut?
Yeah.
A good
Oh my
question.
goodness, I don't eat a lot of donuts, but it would have to be like a jelly donut.
Nice. Glazed or non-glazed?
Just with the icing sugar on top.
Okay, nice. Classic.
Oh, Amy agrees with me.
Canadian.
Nice. What's that? I what?
I said you are truly Canadian.
Jared, are you making donuts at the Crawford Ranch tonight or what?
No, bro. I'm down 13 pounds, baby. Focus.
Nice.
That's good.
Help me with some of that focus.
Great job, Diane.
Thanks.
Excellent. Was great. Thank you.
Hey, Diane, Cynthia here.
Okay.
Hey.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
when you talked about taking time for reflection, to breathe and de-stress, do you have like a guideline of how to reflect? Like, is it straight journaling, or do you have certain kind of questions or things that you go through to support that?
I think everybody has their own methoding. I think that honestly, brain dump is huge. But if you need to distress, it comes back to some of that self-care. Different people do different things. And I probably went over on my time. I don't know if I did or not, but I didn't when I practiced it. I lost my train of thought. Oh, deep breathing. Deep breathing. So I was thinking about that earlier. So if you close your eyes, and I think Abe had us do this at something, close your eyes, breathe in through your nose, important, to the count of 4. Breathe out through your mouth to the count of 4. Do that a couple times. One of the other things that's really good if we're feeling stress in our bodies is it's like a mindfulness exercise, but you just take your time and start at your toes and then just tighten the muscles and relax them. But really focus on the area of your body. It's really hard, honestly, to try to isolate tightening your calf muscles because your thighs want to tighten up at the same time. But with practice, you can do it, and you'll find you're so much more relaxed at the end. I think that everybody has their own, sometimes a hot bath with a good book and a glass of wine works.
Awesome. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks.
It's great. It's really good. Okay, folks. Well, we got time for one more thoughts.
Do you mind if I jump in, Abe?
I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say that as much as this was really cool for you guys, this was hugely therapeutic and cathartic for me as well. And so thanks for being part of this, because it's all part of what I was saying is put yourself out there, be vulnerable, be open to letting others into your inner circle.
Yes, absolutely.
Abe, you're muted. You're muted.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. So, thanks everybody so much for joining in today. And, without a doubt, we sure would love to stay connected. Many of you know that we have these healthy, wealthy, and wise business connects going on once a month. And so our next Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise Business Connect is going to happen on May the 28th. And we've got two great speakers. One of them's on the call tonight, Roy and Tiffany Mitten, and they're from Red Deer, and they have a work that they do around domestic violence, and they work with all kinds of women and children and families. And so, you know, encourage you to tune in, because they're going to talk about maintaining healthy relationships in the midst of all of this craziness. And so we're really excited to have them. And also, we have our Business Resilience Now webinars happening every single week. So Thursday at 11:45 a.m. We've got great guests every single week. Today was just out of the park. And so if you go to businessresilience.now.com, you can register for free. So thanks, everybody. And ciao. Stay safe. Stay healthy. You know, keep your mask on. You know, do whatever you got to do. Thanks, everybody. And thanks so much, Diane and Luanne. Take care.